Half Dome is one of, if not most famous features in Yosemite National Park. And hiking it isn't for the faint of heart. And getting permits to do so is almost impossible. So I feel incredibly fortunate to have that opportunity to do so and to break it down for you. So let's get into it. So if you're itching to climb Half Dome, you need to have a permit. And to get a permit is extremely difficult. And the permit is for when the cables are up, which usually runs from mid to late May till sometime into September or October. But to get a permit, typically what you have to do is buy preseason lotto. Now the preseason lotto typically runs for the entire month of March, and the results are put out in mid-April. So if you're not successful in the preseason lotto, you still have the opportunity to do a 2-day advance lotto. So there's a small amount of permits that they release 2 days in advance, and you can opt in for that lotto and see if you get a permit that way. So I was able to score permits on the 2-day advance lotto. I wasn't able to get anyone else to do this with me, so I was kind of on my own. But I don't know if that helped me, just being just one person, but that's how I got my permits. The other option is if you have overnight stay in a wilderness backcountry, like the Little Yosemite Valley, you get permits to be able to climb Half Dome with that. So what are the trail stats? For the trail stats going up via the Mist Trail, you're looking at 5,000 feet elevation gain with a round trip of about 14 miles. You can come in from the Panorama Trail off of Glacier Point, but for this video, we're going up the Mist Trail. And to start that hike, you're going to want to go to the trailhead for the Mist Trail. So if you haven't checked out my previous video on the Mist Trail, do that first, because that's going to break down the Mist Trail in great detail and give you a good idea of what to expect with some great tips. But if you're lazy, I suppose I can give you a quick montage of what to expect. The trail's only 5.7 miles to get to the top of Nevada Falls, but with a total elevation gain of 2,129 feet. So the trail starts steeply right off the bat and starts climbing through the woods. Just before you hit the mile marker, you're going to cross the Merced River on a bridge. Just continue climbing up through the forest, slowly opening up more and more until you get your first full vantage point of Vernal Falls. And this is where the Mist Trail gets its name, because the spray coming off Vernal Falls is so powerful, a lot of people opt to wear raincoats or ponchos or plastic bags. When it goes up to the top of Vernal Falls, continue upstream until you reach Emerald Pool. Start making your way back up the trail until about a mile and a half in, you cross the bridge over the Merced River again. From here, the trail goes into the woods until it switchbacks and heads back towards the river. This is where you're going to want to jump off trail because it's kind of an open area right there, an amazing view of Nevada Falls. As you continue along, it continues to open up until eventually you're climbing alongside Nevada Falls itself as it makes its way toward the top. And after you've climbed up to the top, you'll hit an intersection with the John Muir Trail. The left fork continues on to the Little Yosemite Valley into Half Dome. The right fork goes towards the top of Nevada Falls. Don't miss it because it's amazing. Here you go. The gold standard. So when you get near the top of Nevada Falls and you reach the intersection, go right. Go to the top of the falls. It's worth it because it's amazing. Or hit it up on the way back. So from here, continue along the John Muir Trail up the Little Yosemite Valley. And I know what you're thinking, because you're probably thinking what I thought. It's flat. Yeah, it's flat for about a mile, but it gives you a good rest of your legs from climbing up Nevada Falls. After about a mile, you'll hit the Little Yosemite Valley campground, and this is where the intersection is to turn left to go up towards Half Dome. You'll know you're on the right trail when it goes straight up the hill. So after about a mile and a half of climbing up the hill through the trees, you'll reach an intersection. The right fork is the John Muir Trail that continues along and goes towards Clouds Rest. You'll want to take the left fork towards Half Dome. And the trail continues to climb moderately steeply up towards Subdome. And it kind of opens up a little bit as you're nearing Subdome to where you can actually get a pretty good look at it. So after about the 3-mile mark, you reach the base of Subdome and the ranger check-in for your permit to climb Half Dome. There'll be a ranger there that will check your proof of permit and identification that has to match your permit. They'll give you a quick spiel on safety and hiking etiquette, and you'll be on your way. And the climb up Subdome is incredibly steep. And as you're climbing up, you get above the tree line and the views really start to open up. You really start to feel it in your legs and also the air because of the high elevation. So when you reach the summit of Subdome, you get your first really good view of the cable section itself. And if you're like me, when you first see it, you might just say to yourself, "F that." Because it looks so intimidating. Part of the reason why it does is because when you reach the summit of Subdome, you're kind of looking straight across at the cable section itself, because from subdome you have to drop a little ways to get to the base where the cables are, and it looks almost vertical. It was pretty intimidating the first time you look at it, I'm not gonna lie. But after you make your way off the subdome to get to the base of the cables, it doesn't look quite as intimidating. All right, well, it still looks very intimidating because it is very, very steep. And at this point, you ascend the cables the last 400 feet to get to the summit of Half Dome. And when you get to the summit of Half Dome, you reach the broad summit. It's wide open. The views are 360 degrees, and it's just incredible. And you get to bask in the glory that you've made it to the top. All right, so the most common question that people ask, is it scary? Well, that kind of depends on you and what your limitations are. But for me, yeah, I found it to be a little bit scary. So one of the things that makes it scary is the fact that, yes, it's really steep, but there's also nothing to hang on to except for the cables themselves. It's just a sheer rock face that's wide open, and yeah, it's pretty intimidating. The other thing I recommend is to bring gloves. I didn't bring gloves, so I did it barehanded, but I recommend gloves. So I have to mention I really appreciate the National Park Service to implement the permit system in place. And I know a lot of people will complain that the permits are really hard to get, but I had the opportunity to do Angel's Landing the year before they implemented those permits, and it was downright scary how congested that was. And so I really appreciate that because it's a safety issue. The permit system itself also creates a whole other issue. Because Yosemite National Park is quite isolated, and even getting to the national park can be a challenge, whether it's getting time reservations or even finding a place to stay. And if you're like me and you travel really far, that's kind of an issue. And because the permit itself is so hard to get, it lends people to make poor judgment decisions. And what do I mean by that is ascending the cables might be beyond your limitations, or the weather might be coming in. So many people have gotten hurt or even died on the cables that could have been prevented by making better judgment decisions. Because this is a very dangerous hike. And so knowing your limitations, watching the weather, super important, because no bucket list item, no summit is worth risking your life for. But with that being said, if the conditions are right, you know your limitations, you got your permit, you made it there, and you're able to climb the cables to Half Dome, this is an epic hike, and this hike is the gold standard. Now, whenever I tell my friends that I climbed Half Dome and I show them pictures, I always get the same question. How did you get that picture if you climbed it by yourself? Well, let me tell you how. When I got to the top of Half Dome, I found a really nice couple that was waiting to get their picture taken at one of the viewpoints. And I went up to the lady. Going up to the lady was key in this story. I went up to the lady and I was like, hey, if I give you my phone and you give me your phone, and I'll go over there and you go over there, and I'll take your picture, and then you can take my picture, and then we'll switch spots and we'll take some more pictures and we'll have some really epic photos. And she was like, yeah. And her boyfriend was like, all right, I might have embellished it a little bit on the exchange. Come on, Boo. But if you've climbed Half Dome, share your story in the comments below. It's such an amazing adventure and a bucket list item. Let me know what you thought of it. And if you like this video, please hit subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Oh my God, these are so good.